Hi, my name is Jay, and today I'm giving you a presentation on the flooding that occurred in Thailand in 2011. The flooding occurred from around July 2011 to January 2012. All right, so from July to October in Thailand is their monsoon season, which is already a big time of flooding in their country, and so this combined with the next slide will show you why this flooding was as bad as it was. And that was Tropical Storm Nak 10. It was a typhoon that hit Thailand during that beginning of the monsoon period in July. Right, so this is the timeline of the flooding. As you can see here, it started in the south, but it wasn't as bad. Where it got bad was towards the later months of the year, right here. In October and December, the central Thailand was hit very hard, and this is where most of the damage and displacement occurred. All right, so how did Thailand combat these floods? Well, the first thing that they did was deploy their military to distribute aid and assist in search and rescue across their country. In addition to the Thailand's military, the U.S. also sent aid. This right here is the USS George Washington, which is one of the Navy carriers that was sent to assist with the flooding. All right, and these right here are floodgates in Thailand. These were very controversial around the times of the flooding because as it blocks other parts of the country from the floods, it keeps all of the water in one part. So in order to protect part of the country, you also have to make the flooding worse in other parts. And so those people who were in the flooded side of the gate felt like they were disproportionately affected by the floods, and they felt like the decision was wrong, and they even went as far as to tear down some of the floodgates. There's also more controversy as Thailand did not make their citizens aware of how bad the hurricane or the flooding could potentially be ahead of time, and people believe that a lot of Thailand's citizens believe that the government was responsible for a lot of the deaths during the flooding. All right, so now on to the damage. As you can see, is an overview of the northern part of Thailand. This is just kind of a landscape. You see the Honda factories in the background. That was one of the main damages of the floods was the factories affected. A little over 900 factories were forced to close, really hurting Thailand's economy. They had a close to 1% hit to their economic growth due to the floods. Another major impact of the flooding was the closing of factories. Or not factories, schools. Here's a flooded school. It closed school for an entire term, which really hurt the education of kids in Thailand. Because of course, in America, we can have online school, but that wasn't really a reality for the kids in Thailand whose schools had to close. All right, and then the main effect, obviously the most devastating, was the deaths. There's an estimated 835 deaths and 3 more missing. Which was, and this flood was called by many the worst flood of all time in terms of deaths and water level, at least for the last few decades. All right, thank you for listening to my presentation.